MLP Digital Paint. Our regularly scheduled free virtual paint lesson will be pre-recorded, but please take the time to join me September 26th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be playing a little with my editing skills to get us further along in a painting that we normally can't accomplish in an hour. Bring your regular paint supplies and a color palette of silver, orange, black, white, and brown. It's an opportunity to celebrate Oktoberfest at home with the cancellation of the original in Munich this year due to COVID-19. Last week on Instagram, we studied 7 different topics to lead us to this painting. There is a complicated art and intricacy to each German beer stein, the German beer mug with a top, or the first to-go cup. Their beauty is well crafted from stoneware, pewter, porcelain, wood, silver, and crystal glass. It was stoneware and glass that made them easy to mass produce and also easy to collect. It was American soldiers that gave the vessel its name when they began collecting them in the early 1900s. Folklore presents the pewter top as a protection from diseased flies during the Black Plague. The introduction of plastic beer steins was met with burnings and protest. It was the birth of leisure travel in the 1800s that led to the fad of collecting spoons, a simple and easy keepsake that could stow away in luggage. The George Washington spoon, commemorating the 100th year anniversary of his inauguration in 1889, was the first spoon produced in the United States. But a year later, the designer Seth F. Lowe created the most popular collector's spoon. Inspired by what he saw in Germany, he created the witch's spoon, a perfect souvenir for those traveling to Salem, Massachusetts. This fad lasted until World War I, when our attention turned elsewhere. The difference between American and German ingenuity when it comes to vintage paperweights could be a patent. William H. Maxwell from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, put a patent on a special design of paperweight, and while his business didn't last long, he did have a certain influence on advertisement. He used his designs in 3 separate ways. One was to encase a photograph, another was to advertise, and another was to personalize. Historians are frustrated that the images inside the glass are not identified. Perhaps it could be Maxwell himself. Maxwell felt that just the slight change in the design was worth the patent. Do you have an idea that's worth the patent? The porcelain enamel city signs that dominated the German landscape in the 1890s were mainly destroyed by trigger-happy marksmen and the necessity for metal in World War II. Thus, to find one is a collector's dream. The German version of these signs were fused glass, painstakingly applied color by color over a heavily rolled iron. They were imported to the United States until the Americans had fashioned their own version. Silk screening replaced stencils, and steel replaced iron. It was Tennessee National in Nashville that produced the largest amount of porcelain signs in the United States for their largest customer, Coca-Cola. Notice early blue colors, a color no longer associated with the company Coke. Souvenir plates can also be crafted out of pewter, silver, porcelain, and wood. But now we live in a world where we can take a photograph, and these items feel frivolous and cluttery. But it's not to say a few of us don't still purchase. Where we might not be able to afford the whole set of china, we can purchase one item. It satiates our quest for finery. Capitalizing on the opportunity to sell a souvenir also became an art form in and of itself. Take the wooden plates from the Schwarzwald example. You can't eat on them, and they have a 3D sculptural appeal. Our current desire to save the Schwarzwald now has us pouring resin plates that mimic wood. Where does your consciousness lay when it comes to souvenir gifts? The German word for teacup is Tasse, and while we associate teacups with England, there is a similar ritual in Germany that revolves around coffee called Kaffeeklatsch. Kaffeeklatsch is specifically designed for socialization and gossip and is not ashamed of its focus. As long as the gossip is not malicious, it's meant to catch up with family, friends, and town events. In America, we understand the Kaffeeklatsch as Starbucks. And instead of drinking out of dainty and fragile tasses, we still gossip over coffee and cake. While Oktoberfest 2020 is canceled in Munich or München this year, you could still visit Starbucks and get your Oktoberfest Tasse. Sticking with the craftsmanship of Germany, thimbles were also created with glass, porcelain, pewter, silver, and wood. They were a small and useful token of your trip to Germany to bring home to your sewing room. And of course, another cheap way to advertise. The grueling and tedious work of the seamstress during the 1890s might have her fantasizing about a night out at Oktoberfest. Hope you've enjoyed our journey this week, learning the world of vintage souvenirs or vintage traveling trophies. Notice the links of craftsmanship shared between continents and the liberties they've taken culturally.